Hey y'all, welcome back to Scared of Beautiful. We are here for yet another Woo Child video, y'all. The internet has been on fire. Shout out to my great subscribers who were tagging me in posts earlier. Like, please, we saw your video yesterday. Devil is in the details. But Tamika finally released the receipts and I was able to review the video when I got home, y'all. And so I am here to give my perspective on it. Now, right off the top, all I could say, the only feeling I had at the end of that video was,
oh, now that's how you clear a bitch.
That's how you do it, sis. That's how you do it. That's how you let people know not to play with you. I am so proud of Tamika Scott for finally speaking up, laying them cards on the table, and giving us her truth. I'm going to go through this video, y'all. I took a lot of steals. I'm not going to rehash the whole video. Well, I am going to rehash the whole video. You know how we do it over here on Scared of Beautiful. But I'm not going to play the whole video. I'm going to give you my synopsis of it. I threw in, y'all, a bunch of clips. I needed some comedy. We needed to break this up because in those 18 minutes, Tamika laid out a lot of information. It was dense, it was heavy. And although we're all sipping this tea, I want this to be learning lessons for us all. I hope that these are learning lessons for the ladies and that ultimately this family gets some growth and maturity about themselves, the ones who are open to it. You know, everyone's not open, but if you are new here, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you all are liking the video, hitting your notification bell so you know every time I upload a video. And thank you to my faithful beauties and bows as always for supporting the channel. Now, let's get into this video, all of the receipts that were dropped, and give me your opinions on what you think in the comments below. So, first, I want to shout out to Tamika for marketing herself. Sis had on a good old Tamika Scott t-shirt, selling that cooking brand, selling those seasonings. I applaud her. She has clearly been taking classes down there at the candy shop. Candy has taught her how to milk this thing and get it going because, in the words of Funky Dineva, if she has to lay all of this out here, we might as well pay her for her pain. And sis is getting paid well. I will link her original video down in the description box. So if you haven't checked it, if you were under a rock today, you'll be able to quickly go see it and check it out for yourself. Don't just take my word for it. Always do your due diligence, right? So that was the first thing that I noticed, that she is stepping her game up and marketing herself. She also posted on Instagram a very nice caption and that thumbnail. So that drove everybody over to her YouTube channel. So Tamika opens up this video saying that she is not speaking about this matter again after today. She's going to say what she has to say, and the situation is finished as far as she's concerned. Let's hope she sticks to that. I'm a fan of saying what you got to say and moving on. That's the best way to be in life. You give your perspective. The people who are going to believe you are going to believe you, and the ones who aren't. You know, that's life. Keep it moving. She regrets having to do this video. She says she didn't want to do it. Her sister has pushed her in a corner, left her absolutely no choice but to do this video because her sister keeps going around calling her a liar. Tamika, again, I was so proud that she's speaking up and using her voice. She was definitely giving us her inner Tupac.
I ain't a killer, but don't push me.
Don't push me. Y'all can't keep putting your mouth and your hands on people verbally, emotionally, mentally, physically, or otherwise, and think that people won't get you together when necessary. A lot of us have this personality where, we'll let it roll, let it roll, let it roll. But when it's time to ride on out, we do what we have to do. I am here for Tamika and the stoic nature that she has about herself as she's delivering us these receipts. She has discussed it that her sister is on the internet doing interviews that says that Tamika is lying and using her past transgressions. We talked about this yesterday. Using these past transgressions of her alleged lies against Candy and sleeping with Jermaine Dupri's dad to prove Tasha's point that Tamika is allegedly lying about this stolen $30,000. Again, as we know here, everything is alleged. I am giving my commentary and my opinion based on what these parties have presented to us, the viewing public. But I'm going to say allegedly a few times, and when I'm not, the banner is rolling, child. But this is all my opinion, which I am entitled to. Thank you. Now, back on track. So, Tamika admits that she lied on Candy, but she insists that she did it, as most of us thought, for Tasha. Tasha allegedly called her crying about some book that Jermaine Dupri was supposed to be coming out with. I don't know if it was ever published or not. And allegedly, Candy is in the book stating that Tasha was the reason that Escape broke up. So Tamika, I'm sure at the parting, in my opinion, of Tasha and her mother, ran to her sister's defense and set out to avenge her sister and get back at Candy. And did so by going on the radio and spreading these lies about Candy and Michael Malden, which is Jermaine Dupri's dad. Tamika states that it's really messed up that Tasha is now trying to use this against her in defense of the alleged $30K in stolen royalties. Tasha is now demanding an apology. The nerve. She says that she's not getting one from her, Tamika, and she doesn't want an apology from Tasha. She just wants her sister to repent, ask God for forgiveness, and both her and Rocky need Jesus. She states that Rocky allegedly has been out here causing even more mischief and sent her and the other Escape members a very threatening text. Now, she's not for sure that it's Rocky, but she has some good context clues that it might be from Rocky. It's from one of these fake numbers, probably a Google number or something, a spoof line that he thinks cannot be traced to him. Y'all got to watch out. There are ways. The big brother always knows what we're doing. So there are ways that some of these things can be traced, but she hasn't gone that far to trace the number. It's an unknown number, and she's pretty sure it's from Rocky because the text contained very similar allegations to the ones that Rocky has already made in his leaked phone call with Tasha K. I think this is what we call when we overplay our hand. Rocky is still out here bobbing and weaving like he's in the 80s and 90s. Like I said yesterday in my other video, he thinks that he can do the things that he's done all along and get away with it. So he left little bird crumbs that this text message might have come from him. Now let's look at this text message, y'all. I'm going to blow it up bigger than me. There we go. So the text message says, Tamika, I have a question for you. Which allegation is worse to the media, you? Y'all know how I am about grammatical errors, but we're going to go with how it's written. Accusing your sister of stealing $30K or you texting and sending naked pictures to your sister husband. We just got our hands on pictures and messages, so we gonna do you a favor and let you apologize to your sister and your mom like you did Candy, who set you up on the first place. Jesus be a period and some punctuation. Also, we have a video of you having sex with someone in 2016, and you can thank the person that's suing you for that. If you don't, we'll send all info to the media and your Kevin Costner husband. Now, y'all, you know Kevin Costner is sitting over there like,
Now why am I in it? And you could have did it. See how I get wrong in it? She never apologized.
how did Kevin get in it? Kevin ain't did nothing to nobody. And Bodyguard was a very good movie. So Tamika's husband, take that as the obvious compliment it was meant to be. If you think it's a joke, don't apologize. You'll be defending yourself to your children, your husband, and the world. But you're not going to have to face shame by yourself. There's a video. Let's see. I'm going to stop the banner for a quick minute so we can read the bottom in full. There's a video of Todd sucking a trans eggplant. And you can clearly see that the word there is not eggplant. Again, Todd is probably over there wondering how he got in it. He's catching all these stray bullets because of Candy, honey. Candy is mentioned because she set you up on the first place. I don't really know how Candy set her up. But none of the text makes sense. We'll get to the text in more detail later, but this is allegedly the threatening text that Rocky or someone very closely connected to Rocky, who has information that only Tasha and Rocky would have allegedly, sent this text message, right? So, next, Tamika keeps telling her story and says that she has protected Tasha and Rocky for a very long time because she wanted to be loved and be a part of her family. She did not want to be an outcast. And she took a lot from both Tasha and Rocky and her mom over the years growing up. She's been kind of like the black sheep of the family. If we've been watching the episodes, we know Tasha feels that she's been mistreated ever since her mother and father got a divorce. She's a daddy's girl. Her mother disliked the fact that she still kept in touch with her father and kept a relationship and love for her father. So her mother kind of clung more towards Tasha and then elevated Tasha more throughout their childhood and now even their adult life. So she was looking for any opportunity to feel warmth and love from her family. So she was always in bulldog mode, protection mode, thinking that this would prove her love and loyalty to her family. They are now calling her a liar and trying to extort her in the same breath. She then pulled a goat move and said, let's go straight to the source when it gets to these royalties in the sound exchange. So she brings in Miss Diane Cottle Pope, who is Tiny, her group mate's mom, Tamika Cottle Harris now. So Miss Diane comes on screen. I have a little screenshot here from where Tamika and Miss Diane are talking, and she basically lets us know that Miss Diane is the one who set all of the ladies, all 4 members of the group, up with Sound Exchange. Miss Diane found out about Sound Exchange because of some work that she was doing for her husband, Tiny's father, his musical group. She found out about it when Sound Exchange first came out. Again, y'all, go check yesterday's video Actually Tuesday now, because when this comes out, it'll be Thursday. So The Devil in the Details, that's the title of the video. I went through a very thorough look at what Sound Exchange is, when it was created, and what it does. It basically enables all people who create music, even the performers, not just writers, not just copyright holders, not just, the big record labels and producers. They enable all acts and artists to gain some type of payment of royalties from the digital performance recordings and streaming of their songs and their performances. So she finds out about the group, about Sound Exchange. She signs all of the ladies up. Tamika at the time was living in New York, but she said Miss Diane got all of her information and signed her up as well. Tiny started receiving her checks, and so Miss Diane talked to Tamika and asked her had she been receiving hers. Well, Tamika says, no, ma'am, I have not been receiving mine. So they called Sound Exchange together to see what exactly has been going on and why Tamika is not getting her money. So there was a man who worked there, and he stated that Tamika's checks had been rendered and sent to an address, but not in New York, in what Miss Diane mistakenly says is Hampton, Georgia, and the screen has a correction that says Fayetteville, Georgia. But that is not the address where Tamika is currently living, and she lets us know later on that it is, in fact, her sister's address. So everybody's trying to figure out, how did this happen? Sound Exchange then sends copies of the checks verifying that they have been signed. They've been cashed and deposited into a bank account. And the bank account belongs to none other than Edward Bivens. Yes, Rocky himself. Edward is his government name. Those checks have been signed by someone alleging to be Tamika Scott and also Edward Bivens. Ms. Diane said that the Sound Exchange man told Tamika the only way she could get her money back at this point, if she did not in fact sign those checks, is to prosecute. So Tamika is now forced with the fact that she may have to prosecute her sister and her brother-in-law and potentially send them to jail, because $30,000 is not a small sum of money. That would definitely potentially land you with some jail time. And again, Tamika wants to be down for the family. She does not want to see her sister and brother-in-law in jail, so she didn't want to do that. Sound Exchange launched an even more thorough investigation, and they start sending Tamika all of these other copies of the forms so they can try to figure out exactly what happened in this situation. Tamika says someone, she alleges that she believes it's Latasha, sent in a revision to her Sound Exchange documents that Miss Diane had initially filled out. And in this revision, Latasha's own name is put down as the contact person for Tamika, and they also state that she is Tamika's manager. They also sent a copy of Tamika's alleged passport, but Tamika says she never signed her passport. Sound Exchange then thought Latasha was Tamika. So apparently the scheme worked, and they were then fine with sending the checks to this Fayetteville, Georgia address. Y'all, I have an exclusive from an uncle in the Scott family. His name is Walter Scott. In fact, his name is Sir Walter Scott. And he tried to warn his nieces and nephew-in-law, his niece, I should say, because Tamika has allegedly done nothing wrong, about getting into these types of dilemmas. Let's see what Uncle Walter had.
Tangled web we weave, when fast we practice to deceive.
Very wise. What you said, Uncle Walter? Say it again.
What a tangled web we weave, when fast we practice to deceive.
Oh, what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive. That's Sir Walter Scott, a long lost Scottish uncle of the Scott sisters, allegedly. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm high-key a nerd. I had to do that. All right. So, one thing that I really noticed, y'all, in this whole thing, and that's why I took this screenshot at the time. Really look at this video and look at Tamika's eyes when she's sitting there talking to Miss Diane. You can tell Tamika has been crying. You can still see the tears welling in her eyes. Her eyes are red. This has really hurt her in a deep, deep way. And I'm glad that she's able to have this cathartic release and get this crap off of her chest. It is what it is, y'all. Also, Miss Diane goes on to talk about how she found out about Sound Exchange. Tamika gives Miss Diane her flowers and says, if Miss Diane, if it wasn't for you, none of us would have our checks. None of the ladies will be getting paid. And Miss Diane says, look, I love all of you girls, even Latasha. I would never want anything to happen to any of you all, but I'm also not going to lie about anything. I'm going to tell the truth of how it happened. And she gives us a full recount. I believe Miss Diane. More importantly, y'all, I love Miss Diane. It's very clear where Tiny gets her personality from. Miss Diane looks like a great mother, a very nurturing person. She treats all those young ladies as if they're her daughters as well. And in this situation, this is the only person that I have found on the level who is actually compassionate, who is not out to compete, who understands there's space for all of the ladies, and they all bring different talents to the table. For her to hear about something, she could have just signed her daughter up, but she didn't. So I'm sorry, y'all. I am at this point very much in favor of taking a vote. Who's going to vote with me? That we make Miss Diane the new manager of Escape. We got to fire Rocky. We got to fire all the other people. I'm sorry, Rocky, but
you about to lose your job. You about to lose your job. Get this dance. You about to lose your job.
You're about to lose your job, sir. And rightfully so. You absolutely need to lose your job. You don't manage Escape. But at this point, you shouldn't even be managing Tasha. And I need Tasha to wake up and understand that. Girl, it's time to let it go. Let it go. That ship has sailed. He has taken you as far as he can. And that's not very far. You know, you're mad at everybody except the right person on why your star has not shined the way you think it should. Anyway, Tamika then goes on to show more receipts from the Sound Exchange investigation. So let's get into these receipts, y'all. She shows, I'm going to go off screen, make this as big as possible. She shows 3 key pages, right? This first page on the left is the payee information. So the payee is clearly listed as Tamika Scott. Tamika has written in red that this address at Bank Station is her sister's address. Fayetteville, Georgia. We see a 678 phone number. Golden Girl Music, Tamika alleges, is her sister Tasha's email address. Then in the middle, we have the contact information, which clearly lists Latasha Scott, the same address as Tamika Scott in Fayetteville, Georgia, as the contact person for this particular payee. Now, my question is, if y'all live at the same address, why would Sound Exchange need to contact Latasha instead of contacting Tamika? That's one thing that makes you say, Then the last page that she shows us is the the ID and signature page of the Sound Exchange application or contract. So here we see where someone has signed Tamika Scott. Tamika has labeled this not my signature. They go back to the Golden Girl Music at Gmail email address, which Tamika has already alleged is her sister's email. And then again, Tamika reiterates that this is not my signature. We also see that this was signed October 4th, 2012. So this was about 11 years ago when she alleges that these documents were forged. One thing I'm interested in, and this could have been, I guess, part of allegedly Rocky and Tasha's scheme, is that you put the same address, but there are different phone numbers for the payee information and then for the contact person information, right? You see that 678-519 over here on the payee information, then 678-629 and 678-849 as this alternative number, alternate phone number of the contact information. I would be curious to know if those were actual real numbers and if they ever worked, and if so, who those numbers went to. I'm interested to know that because I love these receipts, but one thing I really wish we could have seen is if we could also compare these revisions, because she's alleging these are revisions to what Miss Diana made initially sent in with her New York address. I would like to see the original pages that Miss Diane submitted, right? Because I want to know what the phone numbers were, and I want to know if checks started rolling out, how did Tasha and Rocky allegedly know to make this change? The only way I can see that them knowing to make the changes if some kind of way they got wind of Sound Exchange and that this was coming. I know she said she's not answering any more questions, and ultimately I believe Tamika, the receipts are receipting. I just would have really liked to see Miss Diane's original paperwork so that we could see exactly what changed and if these were fake numbers, if these numbers never existed, things like that. Because one small inconsistency is that Tamika said that Tasha had signed this contact information as her manager. And what we see on this paper is that Tasha wrote her name, and I will say that the handwriting is definitely, I'm no handwriting expert. Thank you very much. However, the handwriting does seem to be consistent. It does seem to, it reads like one person filled out all of this paperwork. Right? But she wrote that she was her group member, where it says relationship to payee, right under Fayetteville, Georgia in the middle. It says group member and then in parentheses, sister. Now, I personally think that is a bad move on Sound Exchange's part. I don't think anybody should be able to serve as a contact person for a payee unless they are a verified manager or agent of the payee, or if they have some type of power of attorney on file where she was giving her group member / sister. But if you look in parentheses, y'all go to Tamika's video, you can really zoom in on this better. But in Sound Exchange's instructions for this contact information form, it lists group member as an eligible option to be the contact person. And I just don't think that that's a good option, because they're, we all know, we music lovers know that group dynamics, especially in the music industry, are always hard. And I could see other group members potentially signing, doing this same type of stuff that allegedly Tasha and Rocky did to Tamika. So if I was on the legal team at Sound Exchange, I would definitely change that. That would not be an option. You would have to be a manager or an agent, and I would need some type of contract stating that you were the manager or agent. I would need a power of attorney where you are authorized by law to act on behalf of this person. Again, nothing is foolproof, because as we can see, allegedly, criminals gone criminal. They're gonna commit crimes. They're gonna poke holes in the system. They're gonna figure out a way to get under the fence. It just is what it is. But I really wish that was something, and maybe in the years since, maybe this taught Sound Exchange something, and hopefully the rules are a little different over there, right? Okay. Sorry for that diatribe, but I that was one thing that I really noticed about these receipts, and I just wish we had Miss Diane's original forms to compare them to. But the next receipt, you absolutely cannot refute. Okay? Tamika is clearly showing us that this is not her signature. I'll make it bigger in a minute, but I want y'all to see the top without let me change this right quick so you can see the full thing. All right. Here, Tamika is showing us the alleged back of the signed, executed check. We see that this clearly says, warning, the back of this check contains a blank, blank, blank watermark. Do not write, stamp, or sign below the given line. And so Tamika, again, has labeled that this is not her signature, this one that says Tamika Scott. And then underneath, she writes Edward Bivens. Again, I am not a handwriting expert, but that's definitely an E. That's definitely 2 D's that I see. And I see a B over here. Edward was trying to get his doctor's signature or fancy, autograph signature on, but that still, in my opinion, looks to be a little like Edward Bivens. It could be that name. More importantly, Sound Exchange reported that the checks were deposited into a bank account for Edward Bivens. Now, again, in my video, The Devil's in the Details, I went through how it was possible, particularly at that time in 2012, to execute a third-party check. And this is exactly how you would do it. Tamika would sign the check over, and then Edward Bivens allegedly would sign underneath and deposit it into the Edward Bivens bank account. Tamika says that she's actually been very nice to them in stating that it was $30,000 because there were multiple checks and ultimately more than $30,000 that was allegedly stolen from her. She's only giving us enough receipts to prove her point. She doesn't want to bury them. So maybe that's why she didn't give us the original papers from Miss Diane. She just wanted to give us enough to prove that she was telling the truth. And she has met that burden of proof for me over here in the court of players. I believe her. And for multiple reasons, not just these receipts. She's always been thorough. She has specific examples in the passion and pain that you see within her versus Rocky and Tasha's very general denials. And then all of a sudden it was, oh, it didn't exist. At first it didn't exist at all. Then it was just, oh, general denials. And then as it goes day by day, there's a little bit more squeaking out each time. Tasha K, he said, well, she knew it wasn't her money. Well, I thought there was no money. So how did she know it wasn't hers? She's then goes into the threats that she received in this text message here to release an alleged sex tape. Well, it's not alleged. Tamika admits she falls on the sword that she was in her 20s. She did make a sex tape and she gave it to her sister for safekeeping. She looked extra good in the video. The lips was busting, the breast was popping. She was doing her thing, putting in some good work, and she wanted to go back and be able to watch herself in action from time to time. No shame. I'm not going to judge anybody for what they want to do with their tapes in their private time. But Tamika, now that we're a little older and wiser, two things that I'm going to say. One, no face, no case, allegedly. And two, not that I know, but I've heard that there are vaults now that you can get in your cell phone where you can keep all of your recordings in a digital basis and lock them away, where hackers and people who are just nosy and like to scroll through your phone, swipe or no swiping, all of those things, those will be kept safe and with you in your phone. You don't have to rely on someone who you think you should be able to trust, your sister, to lock them up in her safe tight. Now, I have sisters. I would never give my sister a sex tape of me because I kind of think that's a little weird. I don't think my sister would look at it, but you just never know. Did you tell her it was a sex tape? Because what if she just was like, oh, I'm going to pop this in one day in the VCR if it was an actual tape? I'm hoping by that point it was maybe at least a little small DVD. Whatever, y'all. I'm getting off track. But I wouldn't have given it to my sister. But you said you live and you learn. It is what it is. Just keep those tips in handy. When she asked Latasha for the tape back, Latasha told her someone stole it from her safe. Now, didn't this happen with Pamela Anderson Lee? Y'all getting all these storylines and where Rocky and Tasha come up with this stuff from? Okay, so they stole it from the 90s too. Burglars broke in and stole everything and, didn't manage to steal much but your sex tape. Okay. Rocky and Latasha are allegedly the only two people who had the code to the safe. And now this random number on this text message is trying to blackmail her with the threat of releasing the tape if she does not apologize to both Latasha and her mother. And they say it right here. We just got our hands on pictures and messages, so we're going to do you a favor and let you apologize to your sister and your mom. Then it also says we have a video of you having sex with someone in 2016. You can thank the person that's suing you for that. Tamika says she's not going to be moved. She knows the only person who had access by admission of Latasha to the tape are Rocky and Latasha. She knows in her mind, allegedly. It has to be them. So she will not be apologizing. Now, Rocky and Tasha. Allegedly, so far in this video alone, the receipts that we've seen, the alleged crimes are starting to add up. We have wire fraud, we have check fraud, we have mail fraud, we have forgery, we have identity theft. And now, if they are responsible for this text message, you want to open yourself up to allegations of revenge porn? That is a crime. Again, sir, the internet has changed the game. It is not the 90s. We also do not sex shame, that's my nice way of saying it, or kink shame people in today's world. No one cares about this alleged sex tape. Like, it's not going to be that big of a deal, even if they did release it. But more importantly, you can't release stuff like that these days. There are actual laws against it because so many people were doing it in order to revenge someone else. So, I am not going to give legal advice, but I do think this is a time for just some general legal knowledge for all of the viewing public, so that if you didn't know, like whoever wrote this text, this is a crime and you might want to
Reconsider, read some literature on the subject.
don't do it. Reconsider. And just for edutainment's sake, we are going to go over here and read some literature on the subject, right? Because that's what we do here. We read literature. We want to be empowered and know what is going on before we do something that we cannot take back. So, in the state of Georgia, their criminal code, section 16-11-90, crimes and offenses against public order and safety, invasion of privacy. Didn't Cardi B name her one of her CDs yet? That there's a prohibition on nude or sexually explicit electronic transmissions. So let's read along here. You have your key definitions. What harassment means engaging in conduct directed at a depicted person that is intended to cause substantial emotional harm to the depicted person. Nudity means the showing of any male or female genitals, pubic area, or buttocks without any covering or with less than a full opaque covering, showing of female breasts without any covering, the depiction of covered male genitals in a discernibly turgid state. So that means when it's up and at attention, right? Sexually explicit conduct shall have the same meaning as set forth in that section of the code. Please go read that on your own. Do your homework if you live in Georgia and you would like to not violate this statute. So, the statute goes on to say a person violates this code section if he or she, knowing the content of a transmission or post, knowingly and without the consent of the depicted person, 1, electronically transmits or posts in one or more transmissions or posts a photograph or video which depicts nudity or sexually explicit conduct of an adult, including a falsely created videographic or still image when the transmission or post is harassment or causes financial loss to the depicted person and serves no legitimate purpose to the depicted person and is transmitted or posted. A, to a website, peer-to-peer file sharing site, thumbnail gallery, movie gallery post, linked list, live webcam, web page, or message board that advertises or promotes its service as showing, previewing, or distributing sexually explicit conduct, or via any other electronic means that does not fall within subparagraph A. Not only would you be guilty or found liable under this statute, right? If you actually transmit, but the next section, section 2, says is if you cause the electronic transmission or posting in one or more transmissions, and the rest is the same information. So there are two ways in the state of Georgia that you could be found guilty of revenge porn. One, you actually post a picture or video that was either shared by you or somehow fell into your hands, right? If you're out there sending nudies and selfies, not nudies, Jesus Lord, nude picture, nudes, to someone that you're dating or in a relationship, or in the case of someone like Tamika, who allegedly let her sister keep her sex tape for safekeeping. If Tamika and or Rocky post that video, because there's, in my opinion, no legitimate purpose that would serve Tamika, because this says you have to serve a legitimate purpose to the depicted person. Peter Piper picked a pickle peppers. Serves no legitimate purpose to the depicted person. So not to Rocky and Tasha. We know they would like that to vindicate them, allegedly. However, this says there's no legitimate purpose to the depicted person. So there would be no legitimate purpose to share Tamika's sex tape without her approval and or knowledge, in my opinion. But again, this is not legal advice. This is legal knowledge. You all be sure to go and check this out yourself. Justia gets all of their statutes and laws directly from the states. It's just really an easy website to go to when you're looking up laws in different states. And what are the crimes for revenge porn, please? What are the crimes? Jesus, what are the consequences? Sorry, y'all. It's late and I have been burning the midnight oil trying to put this together. Any person who violates subparagraph B1B or B2B, so that is if you cause it to be transmitted, shall be guilty of a misdemeanor of a high and aggravated nature, provided, however, that upon a second or subsequent violation, he or she shall be guilty of a felony. So if you shared it for a second time or anything thereafter, excuse me. 2, any person who violates subparagraph B1A or B2A, which means you actually shared it to a website or peer-to-peer file sharing site. So if you go and if Tamika's video allegedly shows up on Pornhub or anywhere like that, that would be a felony. And just to correct myself, the first one is if you share it in any other way other than what's in section A, which is the website, peer-to-peer, file sharing site, movie gallery, all those things. So if you share it through any other electronic means, texting, things like that, it will be a misdemeanor, but a high and aggravated misdemeanor, unless you do it more than once. If you post it to an actual website, that's where the felony comes in. All right, stop screen. So What have we learned, kids? Don't be grimy. Don't engage in revenge porn. It's a crime in most states, if not all now, but definitely most states that I know of. If you have questions about your state, feel free to use your Googles. All right. Now, Tamika then scoffs that Tasha is doing a gospel album. She starts talking about Tasha's allegation that Rocky was trying to secure a gospel deal for both Scott sisters. Tamika says in early 2022, her mother and her grandmother wanted them to do a gospel album. The story keeps getting sadder. Mama and grandmama are sad. Their female manager at the time came to them and said that Motown Gospel wanted to sign both of the Scott sisters. She says everything was going well until one night at her house, she told Tasha, hey, we're going to do this gospel album. We need to split everything down the middle. Creative and writing 50-50. She says Tasha went off on her and told her to stay in her lane. Tamika can do screenplays, cooking, movies, whatever she wants to do, but Tasha does the music. She's the singer of the family. Tamika says she then went to sleep because her sister was getting on her nerves. Her husband told her that Tasha just kept ranting and raving. And then Tasha left the house the next morning and they never spoke about the deal again. Tasha, sis, I don't know what's going on, but we all know that pride comes before the fall. And the fact that you don't want to share things with your sister, I get you've had beef for years with Candy. You don't like Candy. Tiny, you go either way about one day you love her, the next day you're shading her. But your blood sister, you don't want to collaborate with her and split the writing and all those things down the middle. It's giving greed. And pride and greed, again, I don't have a heaven and hell to put anybody in, but to say you're doing gospel music, I don't know, sis. It looks like self-destruction. Yeah, it was self-destruction. You got to get it together. Really talk to someone, get some help, and get from under Rocky. Because these are not good traits, like in life, let alone in the field that you're trying to pursue, in the genre of music you're trying to pursue. She shares texts of an email from someone from their management team who was following up with Motown Gospel about this potential deal. She notes that Rocky was not the only person listed. It was 3 people listed. So that means it was an actual group conversation. Rocky never led the conversation and did not bring the deal to the table, according to Tamika. She alleges that not only did they steal her money, but they also stole her gospel deal. Then it gets worse. She shows us this picture alleging that Tasha or someone in their camp has been going around the internet and to all the different cable sites, superimposing pictures of Tasha over the Tamika Scott credits. She said somebody sent her this as a screenshot from one of their cable, things where you can see the credits and who's included in the actual production. I was floored by this, y'all. Like, this is beyond petty. And I'm a little bit petty myself. So I decided just to Google her IMDb just to see what came up. And this is what came up, y'all. It was hilarious to me. So if you go to IMDb, I went to it on my phone because I was just trying to take quick screenshots, right? So this is Tamika Scott's IMDb page, but The top video, the actual still of the video is in fact Latasha Scott. Now down here at the bottom, you see an actual picture of Tamika performing. And when you look at the actual pictures, there's a picture of Tamika performing. There's a group of all four ladies, a group picture of the four ladies of Escape. And then there's one of her posters from one of the plays that she's done. But whoever stopped this video, because you can play a trailer, you can stop and start a trailer. Why didn't y'all stop and start on Tamika's face? Let's fix that. Like, I don't think Tasha did that. I don't think they have enough control over IMDb, but it was hilarious because, I mean, that is definitely not Tamika Scott when you look at that picture. Tamika then reiterates that the threat text message contains stories and allegations that Tasha already made in her bootleg Speak On It and Rocky's leaked phone call to Tasha K. There was the tattoo that only Tasha knows about. I would be interested to know why only your sister knows about a tattoo. Why wouldn't your husband also know about a tattoo? That's neither here nor there. There's the mysterious disappearing sex tape, and they mentioned these pictures that were allegedly sent to her sister's husband, i.e. Rocky. And she states that Rocky cracked her phone by saying that he was her ex-husband. This rabbit hole goes so deep. But Tamika says the buck stops here. She has owned up to her lies and her wrongs with Candy. She is not wrong this time, and she has provided her evidence to show us that she's not wrong. And we believe you, sis. The world knows that Tasha, according to Tamika, is now a lying gospel singer and a thief. Then she also alleges that Tamika stole from the church as well. And I'm just like, how deep does this go? Like, stealing from the church? I wanted to see receipts of that. Like, you are the lowest of the low, in my opinion, once you go to stealing from the church. Can't rob God, girl. All of that stuff your mama was saying in that phone call to Tamika sound like she should have been saying that to you, sis. But more importantly, Tamika stands up, uses her voice, and says, "You won't steal my pride. You can take all of that material stuff, take the money, but you will never steal my pride." She then goes on to dare Tasha and Rocky to release the tape. Go on, you bad. Do what you got to do. Come on, Cletus. She says that you will just embarrass your niece and the rest of your family, and then you'll see what God does, because God doesn't play about her. I felt that on a soul level to my core. When God doesn't play about you, he is always going to show up and show out. And in that moment, Tamika's whole tone was giving me very much,
yeah, come on, push your button.
Push the button. Push the button, sis. She's ready for it. You've threatened her. You've done all you can do, and she's now taking her power back. I am here for it. She was like, she doesn't bother anyone. She won't let her sister hold anything over her head anymore. And again, she did not want to ever mention the money, but she felt like her sister backed her into a corner when they were filming on that first episode. And so it came out. She again states and used Tasha, word against her that they are family, not by choice. Words mean things, and she finally gets that. She loves her sister, but she is now going to put her foot down. She tells Tasha that you need to repent, keep my name out of your mouth, and she apologizes to the world for this whole circus and what she feels is a misuse of their platform. Sis, do not explain to us. We are the viewing public. I actually hate, although this is entertainment, and has been salacious and probably some of the best TV that we've had in a while. I hate to see families fight and argue like this. Like, I really do. But sometimes you have to put your foot down and stand your ground and speak up for yourself. So I'm very proud of her for doing that. Sucks that it had to play out like this. But when someone is consistently lying on you and gaslighting you, sometimes you have to do what you have to do, and the chips will fall where they may. She says she'll never speak about this again. Thanks the world for their support, and that a whole weight has now been lifted off of her shoulders, and she can walk in truth. So again, I felt at the end of the day that she handled this as best she could. She came in, she laid out her evidence. She was very forceful in her words. And she let her sister know that she's not the one to be played with.
Oh, now that's how you clear a bitch.
So, just to wrap up my final thoughts, y'all, again, I have to give Tamika a full standing ovation. She stood up for herself. She did what had to be done, unfortunately. And she gave us just enough to let us know I'm not the liar. And I haven't been lying all this time. I may have lied once, but I am not a known or habitual liar, the things that her sister has repeatedly been saying about her. My takeaway for Rocky, I want Rocky to call his old buddy, his old alleged employer, Robert Kelly. Apparently, again, he doesn't pay attention very well, because if he did, he would have watched what happened to Robert. Social media is a game changer. Robert Kelly allegedly had been doing all of the things he's been accused of doing since the 90s. That leads me to believe that Rocky was there and present and accounted for some of these alleged activities. And it kept getting swept under the rug, swept under the rug, swept under the rug, until Surviving R. Kelly and the documentary with Dream Hampton, which came on TV, but was furthered through social media. And finally, the cries for help were listened to. And he's now in jail. Rocky should definitely take heed, because if not, he's definitely going to hear this allegedly soon if he doesn't get it together. I watched too much Hawaii 5-0 growing up with my grandmother. As far as Tasha, y'all, as her sister said, she needs to have a little talk with Jesus, and really be contrite in her heart and spirit. I think if she lets some time pass and she actually seeks to genuinely reconcile with her sister, that might mean therapy, family therapy, group therapy, individual therapy. That also means cutting her a check, the check that you claim you would cut for her, the full amount plus tax. Might want to add a little interest. Sis, it's been 11 years. So if she does those things, might be a good show of faith to fire and or divorce Rocky. Yes, we agree. Yes, we agree. I think they may have a chance, but ultimately we know the only person who can get it done.
Fix it right now, Lord.
Fix it, Jesus. He's the only person that can do it at the end of the day. Those are my takeaways, y'all. I hope you all enjoyed it. I know it's long, but I really wanted to break this down, give my thoughts and input, and that's it. I'll catch y'all on the next video. I hope y'all slow down a little bit. Everything is popping off left and right, but no, honestly, thank you all for wanting to hear my opinion, for tagging me and all of that stuff. If I see it and I can get to it, I definitely will. If I can't, I will always consider it, or I'll let you know, hey, don't have time right now. There are tons of great content creators here on YouTube, but I am more than grateful that you all choose to support me here at Scared of Beautiful. Again, like the video, subscribe to the channel. These things are free, y'all. And make sure you hit that notification bell, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.